I say all of that to say that Baker Mayfield is playing on the best roster he will ever play on moving forward. As much as I love Baker, if you ask me my honest opinion about if Baker can't win a Super Bowl with the most talented roster that he has ever had, how am I supposed to feel about the Browns moving forward with Baker Mayfield if he can't win a Super Bowl with the best roster he's ever had and the best roster, the second best roster, maybe the third best roster in football now? How am I supposed to feel confident that the Browns could win a Super Bowl over the next 10 years with Baker as your starting quarterback on rosters moving forward that are not as deep or as talented? Because they're not going to be able to keep all these linemen. They're not going to be able to keep all the wide receivers. They're not going to be able to keep the run game going as strong as what they would like it to. And if they do keep the run game, they're not going to be able to keep all the weapons they have on defense. Like, it's just not realistic. It's been proven it can't happen. So I'm not taking a shot at the Browns. I'm trying to point out my thinking on this Aaron Rodgers conversation. Because if Baker Mayfield can't win a Super Bowl with the best roster he's ever going to play on and the third best roster in the NFL today, how am I supposed to feel confident if we keep Baker as our quarterback for the next 10 years that he's ever going to bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland with rosters that will always be worse than the one he's going to have this year? That's a big gamble if you're Andrew Berry and the Browns. The Andrew Berry and the Browns are right now in a tough spot because they got to ask themselves, man, if we can't get a Super Bowl with this roster, that's on Baker. Because we have one of the top receiving cores in football. We have the best run game in football. We have the best offensive line in football. We have the best secondary in football. We have one of the best pass rushers in football. That's a lot of crap to have to not win a Super Bowl. And it will be because of Baker Mayfield, who I love. But I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. But he will be their shortcoming if they don't win the Super Bowl. Because we're talking Baker Mayfield versus Patrick Mahomes. The two best rosters in the AFC, the Browns and the Chiefs, it's going to come down to the X factor being who has the best quarterback. Tie goes to the runner, tie goes to the Chiefs. So that's why when we start to this conversation about Aaron Rodgers, everyone says, well, Aaron Rodgers is old. Aaron Rodgers has 2 years left maybe in the league. Well, the Browns have 2 years left of this elite roster. This roster will not be here in 3 years. It might be good in 3 years, but it's not going to be elite. It is elite right now. Everyone said the same thing about the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. Man, he got to back-to-back Super Bowls so young or so early in his career. And look how young he is. He hasn't been back since. Aaron Rodgers has played on some pretty good Packers teams, but the best roster he ever played on is the roster that won him a Super Bowl over 10 plus years ago. And he has never played on an elite roster since then. And he's never been back to a Super Bowl since then. So that's my fear. If Aaron Rodgers couldn't get back to a Super Bowl with the talented rosters he has had, I'm not confident that Baker can get a less talented Browns team to a Super Bowl. So for everyone out there that says, oh, you can't have Aaron Rodgers for 2 years and give up 8 to 10 more years of Baker Mayfield, I see your point. I get it. This organization has waited decades to finally get their quarterback, and you are asking the organization that has waited so long to find their quarterback to give up on that long-term stability to go all in for a 2 to 3 year stretch. And let's be honest, it's a 2 year stretch. If the Browns went after Aaron Rodgers, it would be for a 2 year stretch, and that's it. You would have him for 2 years. You would have 2 years to win a Super Bowl, and I guarantee you it gets done with Aaron Rodgers with this roster. So you are basically giving up the next 8 to 10 years of stability at quarterback with Baker Mayfield for 2 years and a chance to win a Super Bowl. And that's what the Browns have to ask themselves. Yes, we drop Aaron Rodgers behind center on this roster. We're better than the Chiefs, right? Like Patrick Mahomes might be slightly better than Aaron Rodgers. Not by much. Not by much, but he's better than Aaron Rodgers, not by much. So you're talking 1A and 1B. So if you have 1A going up against 1B, and 1B has the better roster on both sides of the ball, the Browns are the favorite to beat the Chiefs. The Browns are the favorite to get to the Super Bowl. Then you look at the Browns versus the Buccaneers with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, better than Tom Brady. The Browns' run game, better than the Buccaneers' run game. The offensive line, both really good. Browns' offensive line, better than the Bucs' O-line. Wide receivers, maybe it's more even than you think. I'm curious. Antonio Brown interests me, especially with a full off season, playing in a full season. You know, for the Buccaneers, he had the third most catches on the team, and he only played 8 games last year. I mean, that's very efficient. The fact that you were third in total catches and receiving yards on the season and you only played 8 games, that's pretty damn impressive. So, but again, if the Buccaneers have a better receiving core, it's not by much. And the defense, really, really good. But the pass rush for the Browns, just as good as the Bucs. And the secondary for the Browns is better than the Bucs. Linebackers, tie goes, or not tie, but that advantage goes to the Bucs. My point is this. The Browns have a Super Bowl in the palm of their hand if they do pull the trigger on Aaron Rodgers. And if that means giving up the next 8 to 10 years of stability at quarterback, I think it's all worth it. I'm seeing a lot of Browns fans today say, you don't give up the next 10 years to get 2 years of Aaron Rodgers. I give up the next 10 years of stability at quarterback if it means 2 years of Aaron Rodgers in a Super Bowl. Would you, and this is the thing I'm asking Browns fans, again, head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show, search ESPN Dayton on YouTube. The question I have for you is this. Is it worth it if you get a Super Bowl with this elite roster in the next 2 years with Aaron Rodgers versus no Super Bowl in the next 8 to 10 years of 9 to 11 win a season football? The Browns went from being the joke of the NFL, no winning seasons, no playoffs, no playoff wins. I mean, they were embarrassing. So if you tell me that Cleveland goes from that over the last 20 years to now winning 9 to 11 games a season for the next 10 years, and no Super Bowls, is that worth it to pick to give up the opportunity to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? You would rather not win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years so that you can have 9 to 10 years of 9 to 11 wins per season with Baker Mayfield. I don't know what the right answer is, but I think Browns fans could sleep a lot better at night if Aaron Rodgers brings a Super Bowl to Cleveland and the Browns go back to searching for the quarterback all over again with 10 more years of losing football. What say you? Am I off on this? Because like I said, I agree. Baker is going to be the stability at quarterback for the next 8 to 10 years. He's going to win you anywhere between 9 to 10 to 11 games a year. Okay, that's great. You're going to be in the mix every year, but you're not going to win a Super Bowl. Because if Baker can't win a Super Bowl with this roster, you think he's going to win a Super Bowl with a less talented roster moving forward? I'm not willing to take that chance. I want to see Aaron Rodgers in Cleveland, and I love Baker Mayfield. And me saying that I want Aaron Rodgers is not me saying that Baker is bad, but you got to be cutthroat. You got to gamble. You got to gamble on yourself. And Andrew Berry, you will be a legend in Cleveland if you pull this off. Not only getting Aaron Rodgers, but winning the Super Bowl.